This show is brought to you by Beco Dairy Automation. You have tuned in to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. We call it the Dairyman's source for new ideas, information, and technology, mixed with a double dose of current market conditions. The what, the why, and the how things influence the amount of money dairy producers receive for their daily milk deliveries. We offer this daily News Hour magazine as a catalyst to make long-term dairy producers sustainable. We invite every dairy producer in America to get their daily dose of what can be done and what they can do to achieve and maintain profitability on their farms. $22 for 36 months is our goal. We advocate there is a way forward. We invite dairy producers to come listen, to learn, and to participate. This is a no complaint zone. We talk solutions. So get out your pen and paper. Here is your host of the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, Tom Van Nortwick, owner of Agribusiness Publications, publisher and editor of the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our News Hour broadcast this morning on Monday. It is the 7th of March, 2016, just a week or two weeks away from spring. Yeah, the next 2 weeks from today will be the 21st, and I imagine the 20th, it actually begins on the 20th, so says the calendar. California getting some rain. It's a real blessing. The last 48 hours. Well more than an inch and a half to 2 inches of rain here in the Central Valley of California. Friday night, great rain. Saturday night. Yesterday, Sunday, beautiful sunny day, but it clouded up and then it rained most of the night last night. And in California, big deal. Very big deal. So blessings abound, and we're grateful for that. We would also express our appreciation for the opportunity we have to be involved in a small way in things dairy here and across the country. This morning, much is on my mind relative to what we need to do and must do next in order to secure for dairy producers a pay price. And one of the things that we're going to talk a lot about, and Stuart mentions it in our opening every day, $22 for 36 months. And it could be 48, it could be 60 months. It doesn't really matter how long. What matters is that we go to work getting things done that remove volatility from the marketplace, the unnecessary volatility because of lack of response to current market conditions. When we talk about a double dose of markets every day, we're serious about that because that is where it all happens. And we'll be joining Ron O'Brien at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange as he opens up his conference call to us, that he has a priority conference call that he conducts for and in behalf of his clients around the country, and providing for them their seat at the CME to be able to know what is happening in the markets and a little bit of why. Basically the effect. Cause is what we're going to review in the news every day. And so we have a lot to go over there on this morning. Our cover story is going to be this morning focused on what we're going to do. And I really think that I've got to do a little better job of delineating our goal, $22 for 36 months and longer. But we'll focus on 22 for 36, and when we get there, then we'll have a good idea of what it's going to take to stay there. And so we'll talk about that in our covered story this morning. We'll also be looking over our shoulder at other issues that are in the news this morning. But let's start with that news, and then we'll kind of see where that takes us. The reports say that CME butterfat flexed its muscle, last week, boosted by visions of post-Lent demand. Okay, wow. Again, we're kind of pushing. We're just pushing from the bottom, but up is up, and and movement of product is huge. Dairy is certainly not adverse, with demand trends difficult to read in China against the high levels of supply worldwide. Dairy is certainly not adverse with demand trends. Okay? And that's what you got to realize. That there is tons of inventory, demand is still low, supply is too high, and therefore push down on the pricing. The report is that National Milk Producers Federation is expected to finally announce its position on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement next week. Okay. So they get a little press in advance. Next, in the medium term, world trade in dairy projected to rise, fueled largely by China's demand plus MENA, M-E-N-A. I got to find out what that heck stands for. Don't know. All right, crisis hit dairy farmers. No kidding. Furious over the EU decision not to seek an increase in inventory prices. Oh, no, intervention prices in Brussels. Okay, and this is what always amazed me about the producers. And I know Europe, these guys get serious. I've seen pictures, and we ran one on the cover one, where they're just dumping, they're spraying milk all over a field. They go downtown and spray milk, with high-pressure hoses on government buildings. They do blockades. That real cute thing they did here last month, or maybe 2 months ago, is there's a video running of two dairy cows being led into the supermarket by young people, and right on back to the dairy case where farmers were there removing the milk from the dairy case to, and I forget what their reason was to move it, maybe to create a shortage or just more or less drawing attention to the fact that dairy farmers are getting their butts kicked because they've been getting hit by low prices a lot longer than the U.S. producers. So crisis hit dairy farmers. Well, there's a real announcement for you. Okay, France calls for reduced European milk production to tackle dairy market glut. There's a plan. British dairy production started to slow as farmers cut feed bills. Another great plan. Irish calf exports increased more than 460% in the first 6 weeks of 2016. Somebody's looking for animals somewhere. China has been requiring 10% tariff on milk powder, but lowered it to 2.5% or 2.5% for 140.358 tons annually beginning January 1st. Was that January? We'll have to look and see if it's January 1st this year or next year. Along with Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, and the Eurozone, Japan is one of the countries to institute negative interest rate policy. And I'm not economist enough to know at all what that would do for us. Crowdsourcing cattle. Become a stakeholder in your own cow. Since 2004, Landcorp has developed 13 dairy farms with 17,000 cows over 6,400 hectares of the property. So, big company, lots of cows. China allowing more refiners to use imported crude oil, having paved the way for roughly 1.8 million in quotas. Allowing some import of oil. Looming drought may limit corn production in central U.S. Yeah, we get these forecasts. They got a big map here showing, wow, it's extending, from Colorado east all the way to under the Great Lakes. So we're talking about Ohio and south towards Texas, Oklahoma, and then to the north as high as Minnesota, Wisconsin. Drought area for some reason. Unseasonably warm, low spring snowpack, dry ground, reduced storms is the projection. So not a lot of good news there. Now, nothing there really kind of caught my interest. Let's just spend a couple minutes with these demand issues about dairy. I think twin factors, it says, at play for dairy downturn. Let's see what this is, an opinion, and it's written, I'm not getting who wrote it. Farmers should keep the faith, says Federated Farmers Southland President Alan Baird. Okay? Federated Farmers brought together our dairy and share maker meeting and women from across 24 provinces at the biannual Dairy Council meeting in Nelson. I think this is Australia. Outside the evening social events, it's fair to say there wasn't much to smile about. The numbers say it all. Fonterra's forecast price of $4.15 a kilogram of milk solids, a recent Federated Farmers member poll which revealed that 1 in 10 dairy farmers is under pressure from their banks. I'm surprised it's only 1 in 10. Or our latest farm confidence survey which found that 44% of farmers expect their own farm probability to worsen over the next 12 months. Yeah, it's a little tough when you have a conference and everybody's in a bad mood. And there's going to be a lot of that here across this country as this winter and spring dairy producers have come together. I know here in California there'll be a conference before too long for one of our organizations. Economists and others are writing off the 2016-17 season too. Finally, they're getting around to say it. Like many dairy farmers, I'm tired of talking about the dairy price every fortnight. There's plenty of opinion out there in the media about what is wrong, how we got there, and what solutions are needed to improve the situation. It seems there are two schools of thought. Some commentators believe it's little to do with the cyclic nature of global commodity markets and more about structural issues domestically. The reality is there are twin factors at play, and thus we are stuck in the midst of the perfect storm. Generally, there will be price fluctuations with commodities, and dairy is certainly not adverse with demand trends difficult to read in China against the high levels of supply worldwide. Okay, we'll leave it right there because those two great points. There is no easy solution on this, and certainly there's a lot more that could be done. But nevertheless, there's also the need to. Damn it, we've got to get to Ron O'Brien here before too long. There's also the need for dairy producers to take action. And part of our cover story today will be talking about, what needs to be done in order to, get something moving.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang, Education Coordinator for the Allied Milk Producers. Cereal and milk have always been a mainstay for breakfast, at least since 1882. That's when the first commercially manufactured cereal was made by Henry Perky. It was called shredded wheat, and it's still with us today as one of the most popular cereals. Remember, breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, and a good breakfast includes nutritious dairy foods like milk on cereal. A good way to start the day.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
Okay, you're listening to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour Magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We have finally got ourselves connected to Ron O'Brien's broadcast. Sit tight for what probably are now the powder trades. Just while we're waiting, the markets last week, of course, were a little bit higher, trended up, especially in butter, closed at 204. Powder was steady to lower at 74 cents at the close last week. Blocks and barrels 152 and 146 respectively. Both of them up last week for the most part, a little bit stronger. Nothing to write home about, of course, but nevertheless there was movement and price support because of that movement.
Hey, it's Maryland. How are you? Doing all right. We got a minute till we open air. We settled at 74 even and not bad. Should be a regular cast of people in here today. Yeah, just haven't seen all that much going on right now. So, although I think really, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, really. 30 seconds we open. Oh, it's good. We took it easy. We all kind of rested up. Ate some medicine and, hung out with the family. Went over to my parents' house so they could go see little Johnny roast beef and Gianna, yeah. So hung out there and, it was nice to have lunch. So. Oh, yeah, everybody's feeling much better. So coming up on the open. We're open. 73 even bid on 2 loads by BKF. Any undersettled bid. 73 on 2 wins. They joined the bid at 73 even. 2. Total 4 bids at 73 even. 2 BKF, 2 me. No offers. 30 seconds for the call here. 73 even bid on a total of 4 loads, 2 BKF, 2 me. 3 1/4 bid on 2 by BKF. 73 1/4 bid on 2 loads BKF. 3 1/2 bid on 2 by BKF. 75 even offer 4 times by SAW. 73 1/2 bid on 2. 73 75 bid on 2 BKF. 75 even offer by SAW. 4 even bid on 2 by BKF. SAW's offering 74 at 75. TBT offered 1 at 75 even. The total of 5 offered there. 4 SAW. 1 TBT coming to the call. First call. Okay, second call. Third. SAW sells 2 to BKF at 74 even. 73 on 2. 73 even bid on 2. 73 on 2. Trev joins the bid 1 time, so 73 even bid on a total of 3 loads. Still, TBT is offering 1. 73 1/4 bid on 1 by Menar. No offer by SAW at 75 even, so TBT is the only offer at 75 even. 1 at 75. SAW offers 2 at 75 even, so 3 offered at 75 even. 73 1/4 bid on 1 Menar. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. 375 offer 2 times by SAW. Then a 2 lot SAW. 1 lot offered at 73.75 by SAW. 73 1/2 bid. Buy 1! Buy 1! All right, so I bought 1 at 73.75 for SAW. 73 even bid on 1 by Trev. 73 even bid on 2! Oh, sorry, the bidder bid 73 1/2, sorry. 75 even offer 1 time by TBT. Posted. Oh. 74 even bid on 1. 74 even bid on 1 by me. 74 1/4 bid on 1 by Menar. 1 offered at 75 even by TBT. SAW joins the offer at 75 even. 2 loads offered at 75. 74 1/4 bid on 1 Menar. Post. Okay. Second call. Third. All right, we're we're going to close them right there at 74 and a quarter, up a quarter, 3 loads traded total. We just bought one from Saw at 73.75.
All right, back to the news this morning, and I think it's probably, of all the things that are staring at the face, what's going to take place with the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement is an interesting. In Politico, there's some writings going on when you can finally wade through everything about Mr. Trump, what he's got going. There are some articles about the TTIP, and so let's start our learning process. I know I have a lot to learn on what's going on in that trade agreement and how that will affect all of us, including dairy. The National Milk Producers Federation is expected to finally announce its position on the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement next week. But meanwhile, the group's president and CEO, Jim Mulhern, told the Senate Finance Committee on Thursday that it was increasingly concerned about the transatlantic trade and investment partnership talks with the European Union. We don't believe that TTIP is currently on the right track for a successful and truly market-opening conclusion when it comes to dairy, Mulhern said, citing EU technical and regulatory barriers as well as its aggressive use of geographical indications to restrict markets access. We're frankly very concerned about the lack of progress in finding very specific solutions to address those issues in the TTIP negotiations at this point, Mulhern said. There's not a lot there. I wish these guys would mute their phone this morning. Usually they go silent between powder and butter, but this morning not so much. So we'll just kind of work over them for the moment because I don't want to cut them off. It was tough enough to get to them this morning. We do want to be there for the butter trades in just a few minutes. What one hand giveth, the other taketh away is the headline of an article about the milk producers also joined the National Pork Producers Council in complaining about domestic policy actions that could arguably ease or minimize market access gains in other TPP countries. The National Milk Producers Federation's gripe is with Canada. Surprisingly, and Mulhern told the panel that Ottawa is taking steps that appeared designed to take with one hand what they committed to provide with the other. Mulhern said his group didn't have a problem with the country's pledge to increase domestic subsidy programs, but we do strongly object to the accompanying pledges to further constrain dairy imports. We'll finish that article. Mulhern said his group didn't have a problem with the country's pledge to increase domestic subsidy programs, but we strongly object to accompanying pledges to take measures to further constrain dairy imports. U.S. dairy producers got a limited amount of access to Canada's largely closed market through TPP, with 14 dairy product quotas representing only 3.25% of Canadian domestic milk productions. The new government of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has not indicated whether it would back away from the previous government's pledge of including dairy products from the Government of Canada's Duties Relief Program. The program allows U.S. dairy products to enter Canada duty-free provided they are used in final products that will be exported. Mulhern warned that elimination of the program would create substantial disruption in U.S.-Canadian trade and underscore industry concerns that the TPP access Canada has permitted to provide may not translate to truly new sales opportunities compared to the pre-TPP status quo. Okay, so there's a lot to learn. I'm sure there's a ton of nuances and more involved in that process, and we'll do our best to bring forward news and information that helps you and us better understand what's going on. I was looking to see if there was really anything else that was beating down the doors this morning before we join butter and then move on to our cover story this morning and close with some commentary at the end. Normally, and in the months and weeks and days ahead, we will have guests on this show, and it isn't going to be a monologue. That's not what we're about. We do want to hear from others and what they think and what they see trending. Our biggest problem right now is getting our logistics in place so that we can do a better job, no matter who's on with us, of conveying their message and having it happen every day in a flawless manner. And so we'll be working on that. We have an opportunity to push this agenda, and let me see if I can grab Mr. O'Brien and take us back to the butter trades real fast. Of course, we have joined the butter trades at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. You're listening to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We'll hold until they finish the butter trades.
10 seconds to look on here. 206 even offer 2 times, 1 by T, 1 by Trev, no bids. 5.5 offer by BJM, 1 time. On for the call. Posting. First call. Second call.
Offer 1 at 375.
375 offer by T. BJM joins the offer as well. 2 loads offer at 203.75. Posting. First call. Second call.
Take the offer down to 3.5.
203.5 offer by T. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. 203.25 offer by T. 175 posting. First call. Second call. 3 even offer by Heavy.
Offer 1 at 275.
202.75 offer by T. Posting. First call. Second call. Third.
Take the offer down to 2.5.
202.5 offer by BJM and T. Posting. First call. Second call.
Take the offer down to
202.25 offer by T. BJM joins the offer at 202.25. And $1.75 so far. First call. Second call.
Take the
Third.
offer down to 2 even.
202 even offer by T and BJM. 2 offer to 202 even. Round 2. Post. First call. Second call. Third. 175 offer by T and BJM. Posting. First call. Second call.
Take it down to 1.5.
1.5 offer by T and BJM. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. 1.25 offer by T. BJM.
1 at 1 even.
1 even offer by Heavy. Posting. First call. Second call.
Offer 1 at 75.
075 offer by T. Got 3.25. Posting. First call. Second call.
Offer 1 at
$2.50 offer by T. We're down 3.5. Posting. First call. Second call. Third. Close. All right, so going to settle right there at $2.50. Down 3.5. No loads trading here. So that is all she wrote, everybody.
Move over, Manny, Mo, and Jack. For quick, convenient auto service and no appointment needed, ask for G Express service from Gorpetti Automotive in Visalia. We'll guarantee an oil and filter change in as little as 39 minutes. And there's more. Need your tires rotated? A brake job? Even a 15,000-mile service? There's no appointment necessary, and we'll guarantee your service time. G Express. It's a new level of convenience you'll only find at Gorpetti Automotive.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
All right, unfortunately, that's not $2.50. That's $2.50. So butter softer a little this morning, which makes it more spreadable, huh? Is that possible? That was a bad joke. Okay. But good morning to everyone. You have joined the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection, and we express our appreciation for you having joined us. You can, as some of you may know, you can find us on our regular conference call line at 712-432-0900. Your PIN number, personal PIN number 666, and then 632#. We would love to have you join us. You can also listen to it recorded on that at 0990 and use your same PIN number, 712-432-0900, 0990, instead of 0900, like you come in the morning, 0990, and you'll be able to listen to pretty much an unedited mess that compared to how well Stuart handles our finished product. It's also available on Facebook, SoundCloud, and Twitter. We post it up on our website later in the morning and with other blog information that we would put out on a regular basis. So thank you for joining us as often as you can. We do, on a regular basis, get with Mr. O'Brien every morning. And the reason for that, of course, is to give you a bird's eye view of what's going on in the markets and to continue to reiterate what it is that's causing what's happened to happen. And so that we think that's critical. Now, for our cover story here on March the 7th, 2016, we're going to try and formulate an explanation of where we're going and how we're going to get there. We have, as you have maybe gathered, we have set a goal of $22 for 36 months. One of the things that we see that is a critical stumbling block for dairy producers over time is the extreme volatility. And most dairy producers, surprisingly enough, they have really just kind of grown to accept it. There are good times and there are bad times. And during the good times, you save up and you plan and you protect yourself against the bad times. But what we have seen over these last 6 to 10 years, and the highs and the lows, and there have been plenty of them. We've been able to track them, and I've learned more, we've learned more. Hopefully you know more than ever before about, and we're going to rely on others to keep reinforcing that and teaching in more detail what creates the highs and the lows. But as we heard in the early article, there are sometimes some perfect storms that take place that either in our favor, and we had one of those in 14, where demand from global was higher than it had ever been, approaching 17% or more, but around 17%, certainly 16 plus. And it had gotten there over a 4-year period, the previous 4 years, 10, 11, 12, 13, at a rate of about double-digit growth, so more than 10% per year, year over year for 4 years. And so that demand was so great that it actually overcame, for the most part, especially in 14, the production increases that are always perpetuated in the marketplace by dairy producers, who, for the most part, are non-responsive with their milk production on the farm relative to profitable demand in the marketplace. Now, we understand why. We've talked about that a million times. We deal with it kind of as a fact, but we also know that it could be changed. And so we advocate that be done by dairy producers, that you do become market responsive for the simple reason that it will provide for you long-term profitability and sustainability. And after all, what's more important, for you to be right about how much milk you can make when you want to make it, and with total disregard to the markets, or so that you can sustain your operation and, if so desired, pass it along to the next generation. Many of you have made your own farms, and some of you are generational farmers in the dairy industry. There's a complete mix. Others, I know one got in the last 10, 12, 14 years. Only been in the dairy business less than 15 years, and doing pretty good, all things considered. But nevertheless diversified. Diversification has made a difference in the dairy producers' world this last 10 years. Because for the most part, without diversification, in multitude of ways, including your wife having a second job, a job off the farm, you having a job off the farm, providing supplemental income, diversified income for your operation, or to help support your operation, while dairy went through what it goes through. So we can do one of two things. We can either be accepting of these conditions and tolerate them and live through them, or not. And for the most part, what we're more concerned about than anything is that for the most part, we haven't lived through it. The ones that are still here have. But we did the numbers last week and over the weekend, and since 1992, just 1992, we have lost more than 80,000 dairy producers in the United States. That's a ton. Two-thirds. Two-thirds of dairy producers are no longer in the industry that were here in 1992. And for most of us that are not too old, I'm older now, but I can reach back to 92 like it was yesterday. 9/11, there were 72,000. 9/11, 2001, 72,000. Now we're down to 45,000 or less. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to go forward? Well, it's time we got a little more proactive, in my opinion. I was trained and have been continually trained by dairy producers around the country to know that things can happen and you can make a difference. And there's several ways. Number one, and the number one advocacy is that we've got to get organized. We've all got to get behind a plan. And so the 22 for 36 months is the plan that I'm going to propose we use to organize producers around a plan to achieve $22 per hundredweight for the next 36 months and get to 22 as soon as possible by first organizing our efforts behind a expansion of milk utilization and milk consumption in the United States, domestic. Global will be what global will be. And certainly we like it when it's good and we hate it when it does what it's doing to us now. Because setting domestic consumption of milk at global prices, and the only person getting paid a global price, by the way, is you, the dairy producer. You're getting paid global price for domestic consumption. And domestic did not die. Domestic consumption has not lowered. Domestic consumption is exactly what it was in 14, when milk was $22 to $26 instead of $13 to $16. So why? Why? Because we allow that. Dairy producers have failed to ask for their price. There is a law passed in 1922 called the Capper-Volstead Act of 1922, which provides the opportunity for dairy producers to organize themselves and work in common to name their price for their milk. And then to do what it takes, acting again in common, to see to it that the prices you receive are profitable prices, and you name that price for all of your milk in all classes. And let the market then, whatever the market's going to do, deal with that above the price you set. But in order to allow that to happen, you've got to take full responsibility of your milk production, the utilization of that milk, regardless of what it is turned into or processed into. And if inventory should rise because production is too high and demand is too low, then you've got to utilize your savings and resources to then remove, the plan is to remove those inventories from the marketplace so they do not have a negative impact on your pay price of milk. And so the cover story for this day on March the 7th, 2016 is 22 for 36 months, and the steps that you must implement collectively, working in common to accomplish that. And we believe that it starts with organization. The largest number of dairy producers possible behind a plan to pursue the fortification of all milk nationwide. We need to give the consumers the best possible product, the best tasting and more nutritious product available, bar none. And we need to stop taking the good stuff out of the milk and giving the leftovers to our consumers.
As dairy farmers watch profits slip away and a wonderful way of life painfully comes to an end for future generations, Dairy Pricing Association sees a brighter future simply by having a solution. These dairy pricing farmer members in 10 states and growing have figured out a way. Government handouts are not the answer. It's time for farmers to take matters in their own hands. Dairy Pricing Association is asking for farmers to contribute 10 cents per hundredweight to buy surplus dairy products to create a floor price, as well as helping relieve hunger in America. This is a win-win. As dairy farmers, we watch markets fluctuate as much as $4 per hundredweight in 1 month's time. 10 cents is nothing. Imagine being able to curb another 2009 scenario simply by controlling the floor price that you need as a dairy farmer to stay in business. With the dairy products that you as a dairy pricing member purchase, thousands of people are fed. No government assistance is needed. Rather, simply you as a dairy farmer are helping yourself by helping others. For more information, visit online dairypricing.org.
Are you restricting the profitability of your dairy herd? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166. Check our website at becoKnows.com.
And so it begins with an effort to fortify all milk nationwide. Why? Because that has the potential to increase the utilization of milk solids and have a 15% of national production impact on the marketplace. Now that combined with your need to be market responsive with your milk production and or then taking responsibility, full responsibility for your overproduction by standing ready to buy up finished products out of the marketplace to create needed disappearance by donating them to the hungry, the food banks, the organizations, Feeding America, churches, whomever is already established, to rapidly and, evenly, that's not the word I wanted, but to quickly disseminate those high-quality milk products, whatever they are, to the largest number of people in this country who are, in fact, in need of those goods. The estimates show that between 49 and 65 million Americans today will go without a serving of dairy, or a very minimal serving of dairy at best. No fluid milk, almost at all. If they have any fluid milk in those distribution organizations, it's usually time-dated, and it's about to go out of date. And somebody's just simply, hey, you know what, it's too close, just ship it. But no cheese, no cottage cheese, no butter, no ice cream. And that's 65 million people up to, and I think it's probably higher than that when you begin to measure in the number of people who don't spend money on dairy because in their world it's more expensive than they can budget. And so what if we could pursue that share of the market? 65 million people in America represents, 49 million represents 15.4% of the total population. 65 million is closer to 22% of the total population. Not getting an adequate supply or a desired level of dairy products in their life, in their diets, on a regular basis. So that being the case, what could we do? What if we could increase the utilization of dairy products to a segment of our population that ranges between 15.4 and 22% of the entire population? What if they were consuming the levels of dairy that they would like? Because we have seen to it that with the help of dairy producers doing their level best to achieve their goals of sustainability, see the need to donate excess, which we are commanded to do anyway, by the way, even your extra coat in the closet. Impart of it unto those who need the coat, and then all are blessed. So why not? Why not take advantage of the fact that everything's in the toilet anyway? We're not going anywhere fast. Demand's not coming back. China bought last month, but China bought it at half price, and it didn't do squat for the market. It didn't give dairy producers more money. And in fact, the last time we waited for the market to recover, it took 4 years. It took 4 long years for demand to return to a level that overcame your insatiable desire to make more milk. And that was just, number one, it was unnecessary, but it happened. It was the reality of the thing. And it's always been that way for the last 25 to 40 years. Dairy producers always increasing the amount of milk, increasing their efficiency, certainly, and spending a lot of money to do it. But those efficiencies have sustained you, but the marketplace robs you of your efficiencies. It robs you of your savings. It robs you of your set-asides, because I'm not a producer, but the producer sector has been totally non-responsive with their milk production relative to profitable demand in the market. And we understand it, we see it, we know it, everyone counts on it, everyone makes a ton of money because you do it, and you keep losing. You're the only ones that have had to buy and pay for margin protection insurance. Nobody else is doing that. The federal government didn't recommend it to the processors, didn't recommend it to the co-ops, did not recommend it to the manufacturers or the retailers. They simply brought forward margin protection insurance for the farmer to protect your margins. What margins? You don't have a margin, and you certainly never get to name your price. Well, Capper-Volstad, an act passed in 1922, provides for you that opportunity to do that, to do just that. And dairy pricing, headed up by a great group of men and women in the dairy industry, dairy producers who looked at the problem, said, how can we fix this? And began many years ago to develop a strategy that would provide an opportunity for dairy producers to really achieve the goal we've now set of $22 for 36 months or longer. And so we're going to come banging on those doors. We're going to be proactive. We're in the media world. We're going to simply push this agenda forward because it's the right thing at the right time. It's the best thing we can do for our readers who are dairymen. It's the most important thing we can do for our vendors, who are the ones that buy ads and sustain our efforts. Why? Because they want to sell you products, goods, and services. But in order for you to buy from them, you got to have more money. Less money is not going to solve it. Doug Maddox taught us that. If you give me enough money, there isn't a single problem I cannot solve on my dairy. You take away my money, and there isn't a single problem I can solve on my dairy. And so we advocate a way forward that you need to be proactive. You need to work together. You need to work with your neighbor and the guy down the street and the guy across the state and the guy across the country, the family. They're all families. 96% or more are all family-owned farms. And based on, and I'm going to ask everybody, one of my first questions with dairy producers today is, are you planning on staying in the business? Would you like to stay in the business? And if you do, then we've got to do something than what we're doing right now. This isn't working. It's not sustainable. Below cost of production or below profit is not sustainable long term. No matter how much you plan, no matter how much savings you have in the long run, with these valleys being as long as they are, and this one's going to take another 4 years. It'll be 2020. If we leave it alone and let the market respond and provide for you a demand level to overcome your excess production, you're going to be sitting here 4 years and longer. And that to us is just not a good plan, and we're going to go find out if that rings true with dairy producers. That's really the question we've got to ask every dairy producer in this country. Do you like where you are? Do you want to stay here, or do you want to do something different? And so we recommend that the solution is in the domestic market. Global will be what global will be, and we'll take advantage of that and capitalize on it as often as we can, whenever we can. But you cannot sit here and allow global pricing and the production and increased production, which you have no control over, or trade agreements, which you cannot control, the value of the currency, which you cannot control, the amount of oil and how much oil and where the oil is at and how much it costs to control your fuel costs or your fertilizer costs. You can't allow the governments of this state and the country to determine what you're going to plant, when you're going to plant it, and if you'll even get water to water it. Dairy producers, farmers, and even we would advocate the voters of this country have got to start taking a greater level of responsibility and a higher level of involvement in order to ensure your future. So, a way forward. 22 for 36 months. We'll be there to talk more about this. We'll be back tomorrow morning. It'll be 8:30 in the Pacific. By then, on the 8th, important day, Tuesday, the 8th of March, 2016, and that's 11:30 a.m. in the East. Again, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, on SoundCloud. It'll be on our website at my-dairyman.com. You can also listen to this conference call by dialing 712-432-0990 and putting in your PIN number 666-632-pound. Until we meet again tomorrow, everyone be safe. Enjoy your Monday. And the good news or bad news is we're going to be on some of your farms today. And we're going to be talking to dairy producers asking this question: do you want to stay in the business? And if you do, then are you willing to help us work together, collaborate, utilize dairy pricing, chase this domestic consumption increase, domestic utilization increase of more than 30%, which, quite frankly, could not only overcome the prices that were currently being paid, but would provide even some room for you to make some more milk. So, to that end, we will go. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity we have to be involved, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Be safe. Bye-bye.
Pico Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us at 1-800-344-7166.
To learn or hear more, please join us for our daily News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. It is broadcast live every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific and 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can join the broadcast by calling 712-432-0900. Your conference PIN number is 666632-pound, or you can listen to the recorded call by dialing 712-432-0990. using your same PIN number for personal access. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We truly believe you need to and can know more. Our job is to deliver more knowledge to dairy producers, believing that if knowledge is power, then applied knowledge is nuclear power. We'll see you on the call.